Do you ever feel like you're one step away from being found out? That the successful, put-together person you show the world is just a character you're playing, and you're getting tired of the role? What if the ancient warning against becoming an unseen grave is actually a profound psychological guide for escaping the trap of imposter syndrome? Before we dive into that idea, a quick note on how we create these explorations. My name is Dominic, and I am the AI guide for this channel. The research, the Jungian analysis, and every word you're about to hear were written by our creator, David. His goal is to unpack these complex psychological and spiritual ideas in the most accessible way possible, and I am the tool he has chosen to help present that work with clarity. This collaboration allows us to bridge ancient wisdom and modern technology to hopefully offer something meaningful. So, let's begin. That feeling of being found out has a name: imposter syndrome. It's the persistent internal fear of being exposed as a fraud. And in our hyper-curated digital world, it has become an epidemic. We are all amateur publicists, carefully managing our own brand across multiple platforms. We post the promotions, but not the rejections. We share the filtered vacation photos, but not the credit card debt that paid for them. We perform a version of ourselves that is successful, balanced, and perpetually growing. This curated self is what the psychologist Carl Jung called the persona. The persona is the social mask we wear. It's not inherently bad. It's a necessary tool for navigating society. You have a professional persona for work, a different one for your family, another for your friends. It's the part of us that wants to fit in, to be accepted, to be liked. The problem isn't having a persona. The problem is when we mistake the mask for our actual face. It's when the curated, public-facing self is the only self we acknowledge. The pressure to maintain this flawless exterior is immense. It leads to burnout, anxiety, and that nagging, hollow feeling that despite all our efforts, we are fundamentally fooling everyone. We start to believe that our value is entirely dependent on the performance, and the performance is exhausting. We obsess over the small, visible details, the mint and roux of our lives. We tithe our time to perfecting our LinkedIn profile, crafting the perfect Instagram post, or projecting an image of effortless competence. But in our obsession with these external details, we often neglect the weightier, invisible matters of the inner world: self-acceptance, integrity, and a genuine connection to our own purpose. We focus on looking good, but we forget to be good to ourselves. This is not a new problem. 2,000 years ago, a teacher confronted a group of people who had mastered the art of the perfect persona, and his words offer a powerful diagnosis for our own modern anxieties. The story comes from the Gospel of Luke. Jesus is speaking to the Pharisees, who were the respected, outwardly pious leaders of their day. They were the masters of appearances. And he says this: "Woe to you, Pharisees! You pay tithes of mint and of rue and of every garden herb, but you pay no attention to judgment and to love for God. These you should have done, without overlooking the others." He's not condemning their attention to detail. He's condemning their priorities. They are so focused on the superficial, measurable acts of piety that they completely neglect the foundational principles of their own tradition: justice, mercy, love. In modern terms, they have a perfect wellness routine, an immaculate career trajectory, a flawless public image. But they are spiritually and emotionally empty. They have mistaken the symbols of worthiness for worthiness itself. Then he gets even more direct. "Woe to you, Pharisees! You love the seat of honor in synagogues and greetings in marketplaces." This is a profound psychological insight. The persona is fueled by external validation. It thrives on the likes, the promotions, the public recognition. It needs those front-row seats and public greetings to feel real. When our self-worth is tied to the persona, we become addicted to applause. Our life becomes a frantic search for the next hit of validation, leaving us fragile and dependent on the opinions of others. And then comes the most chilling and insightful metaphor of all. Woe to you! You are like unseen graves over which people unknowingly walk. Imagine that. A perfectly manicured field, green and beautiful on the surface. But just beneath the soil lie decaying remains, making the ground toxic and unstable. This is the consequence of over-identifying with the persona. When we invest all of our energy into maintaining a flawless exterior, we are forced to bury the parts of ourselves that don't fit the brand. Our fears, our insecurities, our past mistakes, our resentments, our unacceptable desires, all of it gets shoved underground. This is what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is the unconscious repository of everything we deny about ourselves. And like an unseen grave, the buried shadow doesn't just disappear. It contaminates the ground of our being. It can make us rigid, defensive, and judgmental of others who display the very traits we've repressed in ourselves. It can erupt in moments of unexpected anger or self-sabotage. We walk around, appearing clean and whole, but we are in reality haunted houses, made toxic by the ghosts we refuse to confront. The story continues. One of the legal experts, a scholar of the law, feels implicated. He says, "Teacher, by saying this, you are insulting us too." He essentially says, "Hey, we're the ones who write the rules you're talking about." And the response is just as sharp. "Woe also to you, scholars of the law. You impose on people burdens hard to carry, but you yourselves do not lift one finger to touch them." This is the final piece of the puzzle. The culture of perfectionism doesn't just harm us, it harms others. When we are trapped in our own performance, we project those impossible standards onto everyone around us. We become the bosses who demand perfection, the friends who subtly judge others' life choices, the parents who place unbearable expectations on their children. We perpetuate a cycle of burnout and anxiety, enforcing a system of burdens that we ourselves aren't truly carrying, because our own energy is consumed by maintaining the mask. So how do we break this cycle? How do we stop being unseen graves and start living an integrated, authentic life? The story doesn't just offer a diagnosis, it points toward the cure. The antidote to the persona is not to destroy it, but to bring it into balance with the rest of our being. The cure for the shadow is not to eliminate it, but to integrate it. This is the path of what Jung called individuation, the journey to becoming a whole, complete self. The first step is to acknowledge the mask. We must consciously separate our identity from our persona. You are not your job title. You are not your social media feed. You are not the sum of your achievements. A powerful practice is to take a simple inventory. Write down the roles you play: the diligent employee, the caring friend, the adventurous traveler, the responsible parent. Appreciate these masks for what they are, tools. But then, ask yourself, who is the person beneath them all? What are your values when no one is watching? What brings you a sense of quiet joy, not for applause, but for its own sake? This creates the crucial distance needed to stop over-identifying with the performance. The second step is to begin tending the graves. This is shadow work. It means turning your attention inward and looking honestly and with compassion at the parts of yourself you have buried. It's acknowledging your envy, your anger, your fear, your pettiness. It's not about wallowing in them, but about understanding them. What is your jealousy trying to tell you about what you truly desire? What is your anger revealing about a boundary that has been crossed? A simple entry point into this work is through journaling. Ask yourself, what do I secretly judge in other people? Often, the things that irritate us most in others are disowned parts of our own shadow. By exploring this without judgment, we can start to reclaim those buried pieces of ourselves. This is how we detoxify the soil. We bring the bones out into the sun, and we find that they lose their power to haunt us. Finally, the third step is to cultivate the self. The text says to prioritize judgment and love for God. In a psychological sense, this can be understood as aligning ourselves with our deepest, authentic center, what Jung called the self. The self is the organizing principle of the psyche, the part of us that is whole, integrated, and connected to a sense of meaning that transcends the ego and its need for validation. Cultivating the self means shifting your focus from external validation to internal alignment. It means making choices based on your core values, not on what will get the most likes. It means learning to listen to the quiet voice of your intuition instead of the loud roar of public opinion. It means finding the courage to be imperfect, to be vulnerable, and to be real. It's choosing the action that feels most true, even if it's not the one that looks best on paper. This journey, from performing a persona to integrating the shadow and connecting with the self, is the path out of imposter syndrome. It's the way we stop feeling like frauds and start feeling like whole human beings. You don't have to carry the burden of perfection any longer. The goal isn't to have a flawless garden, but an honest one, where the soil is rich and real, and where you are no longer a stranger to the person living beneath the surface. Thank you.